day like today, 35 years ago, world leaders made a historic promise to every child. They adopted the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, a landmark agreement to protect children's rights and ensure their well-being. Almost all countries have since ratified this important convention, and Kenya was among the early ones to do so, adopting the UNCRC in 1990. Over the years, the country has made strides to recognize and bring on board programs aimed at honoring and nurturing childhood. From free primary education, free day secondary education, an action plan to tackle violence against children, and the Children's Act 2022, the days are better for children than it was in 1990.
Naam, ama kwa hakika, lakini bado kuna mengi ya kufanywa ili kuhakikisha haki katika elimu na hatimaye nafasi ya kuendeleza kimaisha. Kuna mengi ya kufanywa kuwalinda watoto dhidi ya mila potofu na uhalifu wa kisasa katika nchi ambayo bado inakabiliwa na pengo kubwa kati ya walio maskini na matajiri.
Ladies and gentlemen, this evening we disrupt your usual programming to bring you this special town hall on this World Children's Day.
Na mkutano huu, mtazamaji, kama unavyoona unamhusu mtoto, na ndio maana tumewaalika watoto 20 wa umri tofauti ambao watatueleza kuhusu maisha yao ya kila siku, matarajio walionayo, na mbali na hayo kile wanachoamini watu wazima walioko hapa kama mnavyowaona, wale wanaotutazama wakiwa nyumbani, wanaweza kufanyiwa ili kuboresha maisha ya watoto hawa na ahadi za maisha ya baadaye. Lakini wengi wanajiuliza, siku hii ya leo tunasherehekea nini? Mtoto Karen atatueleza ni siku ya nini siku hii ya leo.
All honesty, World Children's Day means a lot to me because it gives us a chance, as children, a chance to promote our well-being, advocate for our rights, and it gives like the adults a chance to learn more about our rights, because as I believe we all know, children are the future. So if you don't care about the children, you don't care about the future.
Naam. Tayari ameshasema, you don't care about the children, you don't care about the future, Sam.
Right, and on the panel we have Gladys Wanga, who is the governor of Homa Bay County. Good evening, Governor.
Good evening, Sam.
We have Shaheen Nilofa, UNICEF representative to Kenya. Good evening.
Good evening. And
we also have Jib Rabil Tosapon, who is the country director, Save the Children. She's joining us virtually. We'll be introducing her shortly. But also we're also expecting the Principal Secretary, State Department for Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs, Joseph Mogosi Motari. He'll be joining us shortly. But first, even as we do this, let's just take a look at some of the issues that you'll be looking at by appreciating that in 2023, the children had some resolutions that they arrived at. I want us to just sample what they said in their joint communique. They say that they wanted that the laws are reviewed to ensure that there is universal rights for the children. They also wanted that there be established the Children's Council of Governors. They wanted professional counselors in all schools, and they also wanted children representation in county budget forums across the country.
Na mbali na hayo, kuna mengi yameweza kuzungumzwa na siku hii ya leo. Kama mnavyoona, Children's Aspirations DEFCON 2023 wanasema kwamba enhance children participation in governance and popularize Kenya Children's Assembly.
Right, and we may want to take some stock, starting with you, Governor, on how far we've gone, because it was a communique of the children to the Council of Governors to implement some of these issues, and you'll be looking at others. How far have you gone, especially in your county?
Thank you very much, Sam, and I'm very delighted to represent the Council of Governors in this discussion about children. And as has been eloquently stated, children, and then you have education. Early years education has been entrusted with counties. So that's also a very major issue. Then you look at social protection issues, whether it's safe spaces and rescue centers and gender-based violence issues and issues, you know, all these issues affect children fundamentally. But the children spoke at the devolution conference, the Children's Devolution Conference, which is an acknowledgement by the Council of Governors that children's voices must be heard, and that's why we have the Children's DEVCON. And they said that any laws that are passing should look at protection of children's rights. And the council looks with a tooth comb laws on children protection. Homa Bay, for example, we adopted ours in August.
Right.
We are looking at the infrastructure in which children are learning. In Homa Bay, for example, for the last 10 years, we had only done 20 ECD classrooms. In the last 2 years, we've been able to do 240 ECD classrooms so that our children can learn in decent environments. And then you're looking at feeding programs. Many counties, over 27, have already instituted feeding programs for our children to look at the nutritional aspects. And then counties are also working strong views on what the county should do for them.
Okay.
So we're having children's voices heard in this forum.
All right, and we'll be getting to hear from the children themselves here,
Yeah.
what their tracking has been like. But help us, UNICEF Director, to understand what more can governments do, especially when it comes to mainstreaming the children issues, and even counties at a time that we are now at, I think it's the 14th year or 13th year. No.
And since the devolution has come into effect, very rightfully she mentioned about what are the key functions that pertains to children, other responsibilities of the counties. And when we look back from 1990 up until now, sizable considerations of, of programs, policies, financing that has taken into consideration for children's well-being. I think what is important for us to understand that the social sector spending at the national level, which was in the year 2014, 2015 was close to 33.7%, has risen to close to 43.7% in 2022 and 2023. Similarly, I think at the at the county level, the social sector spending was close to about 49.7%. That had risen to 39.7% to 41.7%. Now, there's one thing about ensuring adequate allocation of budgetary resources for programs and policies that concerns children. But it is another thing to ensure that those financing commitment must translate to results for children. And so therefore your expenditures must speak what the allocations have been. That's important. And second thing, I think it's very important with entities like Council of Governors, entities like, and the parliamentarians who make policies and laws, and the executive wing, to have those coordination among themselves, so that when the annual work plans are made at the sectoral level, at the national level, the ADPs are made at the county level, they must ensure that the indicators for children, for example, Governor Gladys spoke about undernutrition. While Kenya made an impressive progress on stunting, there's still a long way to go when it comes to food and nutrition security among children, among household. A lot of investment that is going into way. So we should ensure that when the ADPs are made, the CIDPs are made, those indicators which are trailing behind must find a place in the annual CIDPs and ADPs and the sector plans.
Right.
And having made those indicators find a place in the plan, we should also ensure that there is a considerable funding and financing that goes into it. And therefore, the importance of prioritization and reprioritization becomes very important when the parliamentarians are approving these budgets for children. When the COG gets those funding from the national share of the funds that comes to the county, this is also must align to those needs for the children. So protecting what you've already allocated, but also ensuring increased allocation of resources that must result for children.
All right, interesting. We'll be crossing over to speak to Jib, but first, Lulu, you want to speak to some of the children here?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to Manasseh. Manasseh na miaka 17. There's some demands ambao mko mmeweka kama kwa Council of Governors. Jay, what's the update to date?
All right. So last year we had a privilege to attend the devolution conference. We were marking 10 years, and we were just tackling and seeing what did devolution 10 years ago mean to the Kenyan child. And we have had some progress and some areas that we are still expecting the Council of Governors and the county governors to do, and we are still hopeful. We had requested that we are supposed to have the Council of Governors, the Children's Council of Governors, that is expected to tackle the issues that concern children. We had also looked at the issue of the meals, and we had said that are given to children. That is, in Nairobi, we have Dishi in a county, and you have such a program in Mombasa. And you are requesting that the Council of Governors may also extend such programs to our brothers and sisters to other counties. Well, some counties have, but others are still yet. But we are still hopeful in our government that they are going to do that. Thank you.
Naam, Manase, hizo areas ambazo unasema COG ama Council of Governors ama the national government wanafaa washughulikie haraka iwezekanavyo, ni issues kama gani?
All right, we have the issues such as child safety and child participation, and we have not had that. We don't have an avenue, and the only avenue we have is the Children's Assembly. And in the Children's Assembly, we have not yet received funding. So the last time I think we had a seating in the assembly was back in 2021. So that's a long time. So that means for those years we have not actually tackled, and you're not given our issues to the government. So I think child participation is an area that should be looked at. We should have more platforms and more opportunities for the Kenyan child to express himself. Thank you.
All right, let's speak to Jib joining us from, I believe, Madagascar. And Jib, good evening. And what can you tell us? Because we are no longer in 1989 when the UNCRC was adopted by the global leaders. But then a lot has happened, different challenges that children are now facing. There has been, of course, more democracy being declared in different countries, but still challenges, especially at the community level. What do you think UNCRC would help in addressing some of those challenges today?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. And I would like to also join Dr. Shaheen to celebrate the World Children's Day for all the children, the caregivers, the teachers, everyone who have been involving in protecting, supporting, and ensuring that children are thriving every day. I think the themes this year is on Listen to the Future, which makes me feel very proud to be part of this panel to discuss about the UNCRC. I think, let me echo what Dr. Shaheen has said about how Kenya has been the first African country that ratified the UNCRC. And after that, there have been massive, impressive steps that the government have been taking to ensure that implementation of UNCRC as effective as possible. I think as we evolve 35 years past, there are also both threats and opportunities that we can really work with all the member states alongside with the CSO, including INGOs, local NGOs, and invaluable partners like UNICEF to make sure that we really are driving forward the rights for the children. So when we're talking about this era, we cannot actually not to mention about the threats on digital and online using. We also talking about the child protection concerns over the online using. This also speaks to how the government and the member state can help enacting the General Comments 25, talking about how state member can really help protecting children from online risk. Or on the other hand, talking about climate change. Of course, a lot of root causes that we are seeing right now on the violation of children's rights are concerning climate change and the climate crisis and the risks that come from it. So when we talk about the General Comment 26 around how do we have the child-sensitive climate policies that are reflecting the children's voices and children's rights to make sure that children are at the forefront of those policies, as they are the one that will be inherit this planet. And the climate crisis has been affecting the lives and the rights of the children, not only in Kenya, but also globally. And especially since last week that I visited Turkana, we also have seen it firsthand how climate change have really impacting the children, and especially in the rural area outside of Nairobi, where the level of education, our access, as well as other basic services could be a lot more limited than in the capital. So we think that there are a lot of things that the member states, including everyone included in the process, can really help ensuring that the UNCRC are being implemented effectively. And this also includes, as also what Dr. Shaheen has mentioned, the public investment. I think it's important that each and every one of us try our best to invest more in children. And this includes the public investment at all levels. I think the government of Kenya has been doing tremendously to advance and to protect the children of Kenya. As always, there are more that each and every one of us can do, and we really want to utilize this platform to encourage the government and also all the partners, including ourselves, to do more for the children of Kenya. Thank you.
All right, interesting, JB. You raised very important issues, especially on the emerging challenges. I want us to first look at, again, some of the resolutions that the children gave as communique to the Council of Governors back in 2023. And one of them was on inclusivity for all children, regardless of the situations that they have to go through, including accessible infrastructure for children living with disabilities. There was also an idea to devolve Talanta Hela program to all the 47 counties for them also to be involved. Then there was also a plan that they wanted to be included in the growing of 15 billion trees in the country. Remember, that's a plan by the current administration. There was also a clamor to have climate change education being taken to the level of children. I don't know how well we are doing with that. Lulu?
Now, let me talk to Ryan. Ryan, about the PWDs. You're representing the PWDs. How can we ensure that more children with disabilities, including those in villages, far away areas, are supported to get a good education and are treated equally, from your perspective? Oh, your mic is off, kidogo. Labda we get somebody else who can talk about...
I can be helped.
All right, as you correct that, Governor, tell us about, because this year alone, are you okay now? You can speak? Yes, go right ahead. Give us an answer.
How can we, also, children with disabilities are supposed to?
Yeah, Ryan, maybe kidogo will...
Okay, we'll correct that challenge. But, Mheshimiwa Governor, so this year alone, we've seen a lot of challenges affecting children. You're talking about Endarasha in Nyeri County. There was a fire incident. There's something that does to children and their well-being, especially those that survived that such a situation. If you're talking about the Mai Mahiu tragedy, where you saw the floods and a lot of people suffering, a lot of death, schools lost, and now the survivors have to go back to the classroom. But also we've witnessed a lot of cruelty against children and girls. If you're talking about the question of even extreme caning, what do we do, especially at the county level, to ensure that, yes, children are under the parental care or guardian's care, but also we're able to bring that safety of space, but also to sensitize the communities to be in a position to take care of them?
Yeah. Thank you, Sam. And I think, yes, we've had very sad incidents, as you mentioned, and Endarasha. And I think, what does this do to children? Of course, it's traumatizing. Of course, it gets them out of the feeling of, safeness and protection, which is what we should all give to our children as parents. And this is why the child protection policies that we are developing within our counties and drawing from the Children's Act and drawing this child protection policies and budgeting. And I think Shaheen has spoken about investing in disaster management, for example, social protection for children. We've had floods. We've had it in Mai Mahiu, but we've had it across the country twice. Late last year, this year alone, twice. So it's investing in social protection programs when there are floods, for example. Do counties and the national government have sufficient resources to rescue children? There was a big challenge, for example, when people moved to camps during flooding, and you found that there was sexual and gender-based violence happening, especially to young girls within the camps. And these issues had to be addressed within the policy frameworks that we have. But most of it is capacity of our staff and of our people, sensitization of the communities, the parents, but also just the resource availability for purposes of dealing with some of these issues.
Right.
Now, right now, I think Ryan ako sawa. Like Ryan, kitu gani ambacho nyinyi mnapitia, changamoto ambao ungependa kuuliza hii panel weze kuwasaidia nyinyi watoto mnaoishi na PWD?
My name is Ryan.
Yes, Ryan.
Tunayo Chen. I'm 12 years old. I live in Umoja Inako. My school's name is Umoja PhD.
Okay.
I had a cousin when I was 3 years old in 2015. That's why I cannot walk. That's why I'm in a wheelchair.
So what are some of the challenges that you guys are facing right now?
Okay. I have plans. Your child to children that's really weird.
Okay.
All right, Ryan, we'll get back to you as we progress. But now we want to take a short break. When we return, we'll continue the conversation, raising some of the challenges that the children are facing and what solutions should be coming from every sector of the country, from government to the civil societies and the society at large. You're watching World Children's Day on Citizen TV.